From SBI's Executive Briefing Center in Dallas, Texas, the most watched and listened to content in B2B sales and marketing, it's the SBI Podcast with your host, Matt Shares.
Welcome to SBI TV, a weekly show dedicated to helping you make your number. Today we're going to explore how companies can plan, launch, and realize real value from strategic customer experience projects, one of the hottest topics we deal with right now. I'm your host, Matt Shares. I'm the CEO of SBI. Joining me today in the studio is Ryan Hollenbeck. Ryan is the CMO for Verint. Verint, if you're not familiar, helps organizations address two areas of the actionable intelligence market. In my opinion, they actually define the actionable intelligence market, which is customer engagement and cyber intelligence. So they do this by capturing large amounts of information from numerous data types, gleaning insights from the info, and then leveraging that, resulting in intelligence. So Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
Yeah, great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So Ryan and I are going to spend some time today talking about this hot topic. If you're watching or you're listening out there and you don't want to miss a show, I'd like you to head to the Apple App Store. When you get there, I want you to search for Sales Benchmark Index. When you see that, I want you to download the app. And then you can get the notifications that can bring you our content on your commute, on your travel, or while you work out. So Ryan, mega trend of customer experience. You and I are going to chat about this. I consider you and Verint uniquely qualified to chat about this topic. But before we jump into it, I'd love for you just to give a little background about how you ended up where you are and sort of your road to the top, if you will, because you're on the bleeding edge of customer experience.
Well, I appreciate that, Matt. And for us, Verint's a company, as you said in the opening, that's really founded around this whole actionable intelligence concept. Yeah. And it was really the vision of our founder and CEO that really came up with that actionable intelligence vision, and it's still very relevant today. In fact, one could argue is more relevant today with AI and machine learning and all the things that everyone's talking about. And for me, I came into the Verint company, through an acquisition actually, and it's been a great ride. I mean, Verint is the thing about Verint that I always say is we've got amazing technology, but what really makes us different is our people and our customers and how we treat our customers.
Yeah, and how, if I'm a viewer or a listener of this show, so I'm probably a CEO, Chief Revenue Officer, Chief Marketing Officer, or private equity investor, where would I have interacted with Verint's solution or technology? Where might I be bumping into you?
Yeah, almost everywhere. It's a great question because if you think about any financial institution inside of a branch bank, when you call the call center and you're interacting with an agent, you're interacting with Verint technology every day. You see us in security environments and big retail stores and other financial institutions. And so, and then of course we've got a lot of public sector and government customers as well. So day to day, you'd actually be surprised. People interact with the Verint brand. Yeah, how often? They may not know necessarily that that's what's happening with the video technology and the audio technology and the customer experience capabilities that we have.
As basic as you told me last night over dinner that this call is being monitored for quality assurance, and while you don't want people necessarily to think about that, we always think about sort of, that's how I got to know you guys, right? And I know you do much more than that, but it's sort of like when people say SBI, oh yeah, sales guys. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's like a foundational thing, isn't it?
And then you build out. We're much more.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good way to think about it.
So other than the fact that Ryan and I are both sporting the same haircut, and it's truly the only way to go, whether you choose to go there or God puts you there with what we have, we're also going to talk about this mega trend of customer experience that's pummeling the world of B2B. And in my opinion, I think it's causing a lot of challenge for companies as they think about shifting in this new model. So think about your changing buyer. They want to be served differently. They want a less intrusive. They want a more responsive provider. They also want less friction. So buyers in the enterprise are now insisting that their providers incorporate many of the features and functions that you see in a B2C online retail environment in B2B. If that was not confusing enough, boards and other investors see this massive trend. They look at digitization, this big D word, but they don't know how to operationalize it at the B2B level. So because of this, the challenge of the go-to-market engine, what does marketing do? What does sales do? Do I need an experience officer? How does this work? Ryan and I are going to unpack that. So Ryan and I are now going to transition into what I like to call the response playbook. So if you think about understanding the company view, and Ryan, you're a big proponent of this, the emotional experience. of buyers. And something that we talk a lot about at SBI is emotional narratives, right? Everybody has an emotional narrative, and they can agree academically with a solution, but man, you got to know where they are emotionally. So how do you take maybe negative customer sentiment or frustration, sort of figure out what to do with that and how to parlay that as part of the journey, or sorry, as part of the experience?
Yeah, well, we actually have an entire first responder network that we have in place, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. But to your earlier point, if you want to put an umbrella over it, if you will, the whole customer experience program really has a guiding principle to it. And to oversimplify it here just for our discussion, it's really about developing customers for life. That's what Verint, that's what our objective is to develop customers for life. And in order to do that, you really do have to have this responder network. And so we have very specific people in each functional area of the business whose job it is to respond immediately to a customer on a survey, for example, who indicates that, they're unsatisfied. They're back to our champions index. They're on the bench, or maybe they're a player, but they're not an all-star or a champion yet. How do we get them there, and what are the steps?
Levels. Man, this is like totally DNA. That's fantastic.
We both come out of the athletics world, so I think that's why we both like it so much. But I think when you reflect on that, that's what you need to be able to do. You need to be able to think about, how do I get somebody who's not at the moment really enthusiastic about the Verint brand and get them there? And you can't wait on that. You have to have an immediate response. We have SLAs in place for the response level. Who's going to do it? If it's product related, if it's support related, if it's some other implementation related issue. And each of these first responders, they know when something. We have an we use our own enterprise feedback management system with case management in it. So when you get an actual case that's sent to you as a first responder, I need to take this seriously and respond right away, or you're going to hear from the executive steering committee.
What I love about that, though, is I guess what I call the execution orchestration. Like, you have this orchestration that people understand. Like, when I get a case sent to me, it's probably got a closed loop mechanism that says, if it comes to Matt, and I'm part of the first responder team, if I don't close that out within my, 24 hours or 48 hours of my SLA, my boss, my coach is probably coming to me going, hey, first responder on the upgrade team, customer was frustrated, you didn't respond, you didn't follow our 5 steps of what we need to do. So to me, that discipline, I guess that execution orientation is the difference between people who say customer experience, customers matter, versus driving it through to change of behavior. So I guess a two-part question for this last piece is the internal team and what they do, but then salespeople. If there were 1 or 2 behaviors that you've seen the sales team, now that you're 5 years into this, you're like, boy, 5 years ago we didn't do this, and now we do it. What does that look like?
Well, I think, first of all, what you're saying here as it relates to culture is really important. Because what's really happened over the last 4 to 5 years is a culture change. It's an evolution of the culture. We're always going to be passionate about technology. We're the actionable intelligence company. We're a tech company. We love technology. But having said that, we're now evolved to being equally, if not more, passionate about the customer. And when you see people around the Verint company running around, including our sellers, they're really excited to talk to their customers and prospects, and they're really excited to talk about what's different about us related to the customer experience, what it's going to be like to be an actual Verint customer. And I think this whole question that you have related to the sales organization really gets back to queuing yourself up to make your number in the long term. Of course, we're all worried about what are you going to do now and in this quarter, but you also want to set yourself up to not just to make quota, but be in club. And in order to do that, that's going to require some forward thinking. And if you're on top of what's happening, if you know the champions index and exactly where the customer sits, and if you know how to use your assets, not just physical assets, things like, marketing materials and training materials and web and digital assets, but people assets and how to engage the people within the Verint company to respond to your customer effectively, then when it comes time to talk about selling the whole portfolio or getting more value from the Verint solutions, you're going to be so much better positioned.
I would imagine with the inorganic element of what Verint is going through right now, as somebody being acquired, I would feel pretty enthusiastic about the platform that I'm getting a chance to play on with what feels like I can feel it in the interview that is in the DNA of the company in terms of Champions Index and the way you think about experience and the sort of levels that people have and first responder playbook. I mean, this is next level.
Well, we think about it, in terms of our growth. We're a growth company, we're a software company, and we've always been a growth company. And so that means that we've got both organic innovation, like you're saying, but also acquisition innovation. Yep. And you're right in saying when the acquired companies come in, they can't wait to get to be part of the Verint Customer Experience Program.
Well, and I like that term. Acquisition innovation means that I'm getting a capability or a set of capabilities on a broader platform that if I stayed on my own, probably as a smaller player, I'm not going to get it.
That's right.
So Verint as an opportunity, because there's a lot of software companies buying up smaller ones, as you know.
Yep.
So you've got to be a differentiator when you go to find them.
That's right.
So Ryan, this was fantastic. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
This was really, really good.
Yeah.
All right. So for those of you that just listened and watched, if you got no value out of this show, you should eliminate ever listening or watching my show again, because I got nothing else. This is one of the top ones that we've done. If I wrap this up in a bow, I would say this: every executive facing a customer experience challenge, if they watch this show, they'd be able to understand, I think, a mindset shift, but also some really actionable skill set shifts that you can take away from Ryan and what the team at Verint have done. So, as always, I appreciate your eyes and your ears. You have a choice on where you put them. And until next time, I wish you good luck as you try and make your number.
This has been the SBI Podcast. For more information on the studio, SBI's Executive Briefing Center, our team, or to schedule a workshop, please visit salesbenchmarkindex.com.